Welcome back to another Thoughtful Thursday. If you'd like, please take a seat, relax, and just listen to this story and prayer. Why the Opossum's Tail is Bare. A legend by the Cherokee Nation. All things, men, animals, plants, and trees, spoke the same language and behaved in much the same way. Animals, like people, were organized into tribes. They had chiefs, lived in houses, held councils and ceremonies. Many animals had characteristics which we would not recognize today. The rabbit, for example, was fierce, bold, and cunning, and a great mischief-maker. It was through Rabbit's tricks that the deer lost his sharp wolf-like teeth, the buzzard his handsome topknot of feathers, and the opossum his long, bushy tail. Opossum was very proud of his tail, which in those days was covered with thick black fur. He spent long hours cleaning and brushing it, and composing songs about its beauty and vigor. Sometimes, when he walked through the village, he carried his tail erect, like a banner rippling in the breeze. At other times he swept it low behind him, like a train. It was useful as well as beautiful, for when Opossum laid down to sleep, he tucked it under him to make a soft bed, and in cold weather folded it over his body to keep himself warm. He was very jealous of Opossum's tail. He, too, had once had a long, bushy tail, but during the course of a fight with the bear, he had lost most of it, and now only had a short, fluffy tuft. Instead of the opossum strutting before the other animals and swirling his tail ostentatiously, filled Rabbit with rage, and he made up his mind to play a trick on him at the first opportunity. Their custom, from time to time, the animals decided to hold a great council to discuss important matters, and Rabbit, as usual, was given the task of arranging and gathering and delivering the invitations. Councils were also occasion for feasting and dancing, and Rabbit saw a way of bringing about Opossum's downfall. When Rabbit arrived with the news of the meeting, Opossum was sitting by the door of his lodge, engaged in his favorite occupation, grooming his tail. "I come to call you to the great council tomorrow, Brother Opossum," said Rabbit. "Will you attend and join the dance?" "Only if I'm given a special seat," replied the conceited Opossum, carefully smoothing some untidy hairs at the tip of his tail. "After all," he went on, grinning maliciously at Rabbit, "I have such a beautiful long tail that I ought to sit where everyone else can see and admire me." Rabbit was almost beside himself with fury, but he pretended not to notice the jibe and said, "But of course, Brother Opossum. I will personally see to it that you have the best seat in the council lodge. I will also send someone to dress your tail, especially for the dance." Opossum was delighted by this suggestion, and Rabbit left him singing the praises of his tails even more loudly than usual. On the Cricket, whom we call the Barber, because of his fame as an expert hair cutter. Cricket listened with growing amazement as Rabbit recounted his conversation with Opossum. Like all of the other animals, he found Opossum's vanity and arrogance very tiresome. He began to protest, but Rabbit held up a paw and said, "Wait a moment. I have a plan, and I need your help. Listen." He dropped his voice as he told Cricket what he wanted him to do. Early the next morning, Cricket presented himself at Opossum's door and said that he had been sent by Rabbit to prepare the famous tale for the council that evening. Opossum made himself comfortable on the floor and stretched out his tail. Cricket began combing it gently. "I will wrap this red cord around your tail as I comb it," he explained, "so that it will remain smooth and neat for the dance tonight. I will keep it bound up till the very last moment," thought Opossum gleefully. "How envious the others will be when I finally reveal it in all its beauty." That evening, his tail still tightly wrapped in the red cord, Opossum marched into the council lodge and was led to his special seat by a strangely happy Rabbit. Soon it was time for the dancing to take place. The drums and rattles began to sound. Opossum stood up, loosened the cord from his tail, stepped proudly into the center of the dancing floor, and he began to sing. "Look at my beautiful tail," he sang as he circled the floor. See how it sweeps the ground." There was a great shout from the audience, and some of the animals began to applaud. "How they admire me," thought Opossum, as he continued dancing and singing loudly. "See how my tail gleams in the firelight." Again everyone shouted and cheered. Opossum began to have just the merest suspicion that all was not quite as it should be. Was there possibly a hint of mockery in their voices? He dismissed such an absurd idea, and continued dancing. "Stronger than an eagle's, more beautiful than a raven's." At this point, animals shrieked so loudly that Opossum stopped in his tracks and looked at them. To his astonishment and chagrin, they were all convulsed in laughter, with some leaning weakly on their neighbors' shoulders, as others rolling on the ground in their mirth. Several were pointing at his tail. Bewildered, Opossum looked down and saw, to his horror, that his beautiful, thick, glossy tail, was now bulked and scaly, like that of the lizard's. Nothing remained of his former glory. While pretending to comb it, the wily cricket had snipped off every single hair. Opossum was so overcome with shame and confusion that he could not utter a sound. Instead, he rolled over helplessly on his back, grimacing with embarrassment, just as opossums still do today, when taken by surprise. I give thanks to the Creator, the Four Directions, the Ancestors, the Allies, and the One True Source, for the life within this form, and for all life everywhere. I give thanks for the lessons learned, the gifts, and all that has been received in the past, at this time in my life, and for those yet to come into my life in the future. I ask for healing to be offered to all those who are ready to open to it. Help me, heal me, guide me, show me, lead me. Make me the best possible channel for your energies, and open me to being connected to spirit to help those around me.